Hello Linux lovers, my name's Wimpy, welcome to my world, welcome back everyone. Been on hiatus for a little while, we'll get to discuss that during the course of today's stream, but thank you for those of you that have joined me here today. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for your patience. Hello, good morning. I've got a new layout, so I'm not sure where to look for all of these notifications, but hello, whoever that was. I don't know where to look. Hello, Lucy, welcome. How are you doing? Have you got internet today? For those of you that aren't aware, the UK has had some rather splendid nationwide internet outages, so I've started to introduce, this is new, I haven't actually sort of advertised this except in the Discord. I'm going to introduce a 3-star rating for the probability of stream fail. This is rated at a 3, purely on the fact that I can't rely on the internet at all right now. So we'll see how we go. In the future, the stream fail rating will be based on my technical competency and the difficulty of challenging that I'm taking on. Today's challenge is low challenge, but it's something I need to get done. So welcome back everyone, thank you all for stopping by. Right, what am I going to be doing today? So those of you that know me well will know that I've had a change of job. I now work at Determinate Systems, working with Nix and nixos on a daily basis with an amazing group of people. And so consequently, I've been introducing Nix and nixos into my Linux life. And the machine I'm streaming from now is actually running Elementary OS 7, but it's running Nix and a thing called Home Manager to look after the large part of my sort of shell and configuration. But a number of my devices, including this one and the main workstation at home, which have been running Ubuntu flavors and Ubuntu and Elementary now for on and off for a while, will eventually all get moved over to nixos. And what I'm going to do today is sort of figure out all of the devices that I've got, how I'm going to approach moving those over to nixos, and sort of explaining what their function's going to be. And then on subsequent streams here, each of those devices are going to get the nixos treatment. And I'm going to be doing all of that work in a single Git repository that contains all of my Nix and nixos configuration. So I'm by no means an expert, I'm still learning. So I'm fully up for making every mistake imaginable, but we can learn together. So welcome back. So Lucy says the internet's going to hold out today? Question mark. Could be. I mean, I think the national embarrassment in the press for Virgin Media yesterday means that maybe they've found the right people to tighten up the bits of string between their connections, because that was not good. Right, I'm glad you're doing well, Lucy. Welcome back, Nuno. Welcome back, Paul. Lovely to see you here. So we're going to need a nixos redeem. That's a really good idea, Paul. Yeah, we can totally do that. I think we'll work on that. And under the hood, there's been a bunch of reasons why I've not been streaming for 2 months. Some of you will know there was a little mishap back in November. I wasn't very well. I'm properly coming out the other side of that now, so I'm well. But it's taken some time, but I'm feeling good again. And obviously the change of job, they're keeping me very busy. It's really interesting stuff. I'll get to talk a bit more about what we're doing there in due course as well, but that sort of nixos for professionals is and that sort of thing, and we'll get into that at some future date. Got a super secret project which I'll be announcing soon, which I've been working on quietly in the background, so you'll find out about that in a couple of weeks or so. But mostly the next good while of streams is going to be around Nix, integrating Nix into Ubuntu workflows. That's Nix, not nixos. And I'll cover the nuance between Nix and nixos. introducing NixOS to all of the things in my life, and working on, you'll probably know as I stream, I have a number of projects I've worked on over the years to bring sort of a comprehensive blend of OBS Studio and its plugins specifically to Ubuntu by way of a Snap originally, and then OBS Fully Loaded, which was Deb-based, and now I use OBS Portable. Well, I'll be transferring all of that know-how into the NixOS world. So only a small fraction of the plugins that I need for OBS Studio are packaged for in Nix packages. So I'll be taking on that work as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going to go on then. Ubuntu Nix Mate when, says Lucy. That's interesting. So one of the things I'm learning is one of the properties of Nix and NixOS is you never need to make another distribution again, because you can just publish a configuration file and your, in air quotes, distribution is available to everybody. So we'll totally look at like that, and my NixOS configuration can generate an ISO image. So if you want to run NixOS just like I do, you can clone my GitHub repo and build your own ISO. So fork it, change the usernames, and you're off to the races. So at some point in the future, I'll cover that sort of thing as well, including, and there's a whole, I've got so many ideas. So one of the reasons why I had to sort of take this hiatus is I thought I would start at like absolute zero with this Nix journey, but there was so much I needed to sort of learn and get up to speed with. Hello, Angry Spectre. Thank you very much for following. And there was so much I had to learn. I really didn't feel that it would be useful to just go on stream and spend 2 hours reading a bunch of documentation, which is really what I did for like a month. So I've done a lot of reading and a lot of learning, and now, while not an expert, I feel I've got something to share, and hopefully enough to share and learn together with the rest of you. So distroless shenanigans, not distroless exactly, although maybe in the future. Rhino Nix. These are all great names, by the way. I need to pay a closer attention to all of this here. Hey, Primal. Oh gosh, I see there's a... Did anyone deal with... Did anyone deal with that? I haven't got the wherewithal to cope with all that nonsense. Can I just ban them? Let's just do... What was it? Primal... Stipend. Gosh. There we go. There we go. The bot has spoken. You're banned. Right, that deals with that. So, Portable Mate next. You'll have to... Portable? No. What, for the Mate desktop in a portable build? Gosh, no. Don't want to take that on. So, hey, Pyrus Masquerade. Welcome back. So, let's get into this. Where shall I start? I've said that this stream is me planning my device future for OBS. Not OBS. Get it right. NixOS particularly. So, where I'm going to be working today is here. Right, here is my Nix configuration. I'm thinking in a future stream, I will go through my Nix configuration and sort of explain what a Nix configuration is. This is a flake-based configuration, which is the new hotness in the Nix world, using Nix Flake. So I thought maybe I could go through and explain this, although I'm not sure I can cover that adequately in a single stream, but I can talk about that. But this configuration is doing several things at the moment. It is providing hardware configuration, the distro if you will, to a number of my machines that I have moved over to NixOS, and it is also providing this piece here, Home Manager, which is configuration management and environment for your home directory. Let's just call it that for simplicity's sake. But on this machine, which as I said is running Elementary 7, and my workstation at home, which is running Elementary 7, it is configuring everything to do with my desktop environment and my shell environment. And so anyone can take advantage of those properties of Nix on any distribution. And having come from a world where I've been using things like Yadim, yet another dot manager, and Ansible playbooks to maintain configuration between multiple machines, this is just far superior in every way imaginable. So if you like a bit of configuration management and consistency in your life, I highly recommend Home Manager. And one of the things I'll be taking on in the future is introducing that Home Manager configuration to a MacBook that I have, and it will be seamlessly managing my user experience consistently across Ubuntu, NixOS, and macOS, and WSL as well if I really wanted to. So welcome back everyone. Right, so this is the bit that I'm going to be focusing on today, which is this here. And something that I'm going to be thinking about is good afternoon, in fact, says Mick. Nice one. And one of the things I'm going to be thinking about is how through doing a NixOS configuration for the different devices I have access to, I might be able to be a good Nix community member. So I'm going to show you this little repository here. I say little, it's pretty great. I'm not signed in. Bother, oh well. So this is one of the projects under the NixOS organization on GitHub called NixOS Hardware, and as it says here, a collection of NixOS modules covering hardware quirks. And I found this fairly early on in my NixOS journey and found it to be extremely useful. Anyone knows OBS is the best? OBS OS? What's OBS OS? Slewdoom. What's that? That sounds curious to me. And the reason I found it is that I have a new laptop, which I'll be talking about soon. And it's a Lenovo. And it's a ThinkPad. And it is specifically a Z series, brand new, and it's a Z13. And what this defined here, in fact, that's a link back. So is it here? This is the one. This is a Nix configuration that does all of the setup and config for a ThinkPad Z13. And so with this, I was able to add 2 lines to my NixOS configuration. In fact, we can go and look at them. And get all of the hardware enablement for my laptop. And I thought, that's jolly good. So what I want to do is I've got some name brand devices, some of which have partial coverage in here and some of which have no coverage in this repository. So I thought as I go through this journey, I can put all of my hardware enablement here so other people can benefit if they have the same device, because it certainly helped me out a load. So if we take a look at my NixOS configurations, here they're organized by hey Popey, how you doing? They're organized by the host name of the machines, and here's Z, which is my laptop, and here's the hardware configuration, and somewhere in here you can see me importing that module from the NixOS hardware modules. And just by adding that line there, and I've got another line which actually sort of exposes that whole repository here. So literally this line here in my top level flake and this line here, that was all I needed to do to get the right kernel version and with the right power manager configuration, CPU, GPU, touch, fingerprint reader, that whole, all of that just happened just by me adding this single line. So I love that, and I think this is an easy way that I can add some value based on what I've learned so far. And this is the basic hardware configuration for my ThinkPad. And you can use that hardware database. So if we take a look at Skull, which is a NUC, this doesn't have an entry in the hardware database yet, but I'm thinking I could provide one because I know what properties. It's a NUC model rather than just a collection of off-the-shelf parts. But I'm able to compose my own configuration for this just by pulling in the discrete bits from that hardware database. So it's an Intel CPU, it's got common PC stuff, and it's got an SSD. And just by declaring those 3 lines, it does a whole bunch of hardware enablement for me. Which I really like, because gone are the days of having a generic distribution like Ubuntu Mate, which tries to be all things to all people. And now, through configuration, I can have very well tuned hardware with all of the right power saving, battery endurance and hardware configuration that I need on each device. And you can do some complex stuff as well. So if we look at Designaire, which is my main playground, this has, here we go, I've listed all of the hardware here. You can see it's quite the mix, because it's got a Radeon GPU and an NVIDIA GPU and HDMI capture cards, and I had to submit patches to NixOS for new versions of those drivers. And so I've got this real blend of stuff going on here in order to declare all of that. So GPUs for all 3 vendors. And in fact, something that arrived at home yesterday, I have an Intel Arc A770 at home, which I'm going to be experimenting with, and that will be featuring. And then I can do complex stuff. So here's the capture device. That's a single line to enable that once I updated the kernel modules for it. And then this is actually a rather sophisticated NVIDIA GPU configuration, where the AMD GPU is primary and the NVIDIA GPU is secondary. This is really difficult to express in Ubuntu, but surprisingly easy to do with NixOS. So I was very happy about this, and you can see here this single line does a lot of the heavy work of actually saying just provide this NVIDIA GPU for compute, which is pretty cool stuff. So there's a little look at what I've got here, but where I'm going to focus my attention is this list of stuff, because man, have I got a lot of gear, and I've got to try and remember what it all is and figure out how we do this. So I see somebody put the chat in slow mode. What was going on there, Takov? Thank you for dealing with that. Are we out of there? Room is in slow mode. I'll turn it off, I think, now, unless we were getting spammed. I don't think we were. Let's just, there we go. There we go. Let's let everyone talk freely. So, let's have a little look here. I'm just checking through chat. So Esme, yeah, I was using Ansible playbooks to look after my machine configurations and home directory configurations and supplementing .file configuration and stuff like that. And now Nix is the one tool that can do all of these things. So Nix is a language, it's a package manager. It's a package manager that can build operating system images and operating systems, and it's a configuration manager, and a very capable one at that. Right then, so what we'll do is we'll hop over to VS Code. I think I'm in the right directory here. Yes, and we will bring up this README. So this is the list of stuff, and actually these here are mostly done now. So I think what I'll do, in fact, they don't run Ubuntu anymore, so this needs updating. This is running. I'm going to assume that I'm back. Let's have a look. What does Twitch say? Twitch seems to think that I'm back, I think. Ah. That was power. So the other thing that was happening here, I'm glad I rated this 3 stars for potential stream fail. They were also changing the electric here yesterday, and I think somebody just tripped the power next door. So I've got that to contend with as well. So there we go. Hopefully I'm back. I think Twitch is saying I'm back, and this other thing here is working. I'm just clicking around. I think it's fine. Well, that was unexpected. That one I wasn't anticipating, but there we go. You like how fast I'm back? I have got contingencies because I've been here before, and also maybe something I'll cover in a future stream is how I come back so quickly. I have a button on the Stream Deck that literally automates everything, so the time it takes the machine to bounce back, I can push a button and everything is configured and ready to go in like 4 seconds just by pushing a button. So that's one of the other advantages of having a high degree of automation and reproducibility with NICs. Oh, the redeems aren't working by the looks of it. Let me just give the hello Badger, how you doing? Let me just give the bot a reboot. There we go. Maybe that will shield mode is on. Oh right. I mean, why did all this get turned on, Takov? Was something going on that I missed? Oh right. Things are behaving strangely. They're not perfect. So telling me I'm streaming at 30 frames a second, which I really shouldn't be. Okay, whatever. We'll assume it's fine. So where was I? Let's go and have a look. Let's see if this is doing the right thing. We're in the wrong place and it's not open. So let's go here, open this. If it goes off again, it'll be the same problem. So as I was saying, these two machines are not running Ubuntu anymore. They're running Elementary 7. I'm waiting for the power to go off now. Maybe those are the magic words that disrupted the force. Right then. So we'll sort out the formatting on this momentarily. So I know Takov has been looking at some stuff to do with the Raspberry Pi images, and I'm sorry Takov, I've not been able to give that my full attention yet, but it is on my radar and you'll see why in just a moment. So let's just get this doing the right thing. Is that about right? There we go. So this is what we have so far. This is what I've been working on. So you can see these machines, and although these will never be done, these are actually sort of, oh actually they're not hardware done, so actually that should stay as it is, but the home manager stuff is in good place. So good. Okay, thanks Mick. It's very, I'm just seeing weird reports from Twitch. Twitch clearly didn't like that stream going out and coming back. So we'll see how it goes. Right. So I have got a load of stuff to get in this list. So if we just take one of these, we'll put in here, I'll just call it Pi 4. I've got 2 of them and they're going to be the same basically. And these are the workstations. These are these things here. My little development boxes. So if I just switch, let's see if this works. There we go. This box here has got Pi 4 inside it. And I've got one of these here and one at home. And this is what I use for Pi development stuff. So I'm going to be configuring up those. So that will need some work, and I've got some idea where to start on that, but that will be a whole road of new discovery. Let's just do Raspberry Pi 4. I'm not going to worry too much about other models for the moment. I will get to the 2 and the 3 at some point, but I do want to get NixOS on it. So let's just tidy up this, because my brain won't be able to compute this with it all out of step. So that's going to obviously be a bit different, because that's going to be an ARM-based device. And I've got several ARM-based devices that I'm actually going to take a look at that I've really not invested much time in up to this point, which I've had on my list of things to play with for ages. Right, okay. How are we looking? That looks like I might have enough space. So that's going to run NixOS, and this is a, we'll call it a desktop. And that's to be done. Right then, there we go. So, Sludum, getting fixed. Let's have a look. So, I'm proud of myself as I managed to convince my mother to use Ubuntu Mate 2204. Very good. As much as I'm against Canonical. Oh, well, that's very kind of you, Pyrus. Very kind indeed. Right then, why are you against Canonical? They've done such a lot for the popularization of Linux on, you know, in the mainstream. I think they should be recognized for the many years of work that they've put in there. Right then. Right then. Oh, Lenovo, yeah, look at that. I'd never spotted that I got that wrong. There we go, thank you. Right then, let's move on. So, in the ARM category, I have a couple of other devices that I've never done anything with. I have, what are they called? Oh gosh, I can't remember. What's the name of that popular manufacturer? Pinebook. I've got a Pinebook. Which is Pine. And it is a regular Pinebook. And I believe that that hardware database I was looking at earlier, which I'll now have to open again on account of everything going off. Right then, so NixOS hardware. I've got a feeling that these may well be entirely covered by this database. Oh, Pine 64 is what we should have in here. So there's a Pinebook. Oh, okay, so the Pinebook Pro's in there, but not the Pinebook. So that'll be interesting. So if I switch back to here, so Pine 64 is actually the OEM, I believe. So we'll have a go at that, because these are devices that they were very generously sent me some time ago, but I had a conflict of interest because I was working at Canonical at the time, and so I couldn't do effectively free hardware enablement. But I also have, they also sent me a Pinebook Pro. So I'm going to do that one as well, and as we just saw, that is covered by the NixOS hardware quirks, so maybe that one's going to be relatively straightforward. Let's see, let's do another one of those. There we go. Right then, so we've got a Pinebook Pro as well. And I'm going to get NixOS going on that. And now what we're going to move into is we have a whole bunch of GPD devices. And I'm looking over here because I have a couple of them on the shelf. So let's just get GPD in here now. Now these are going to be interesting because I have done all of the hardware enablement work for GPD in Ubuntu Mate. And I was discussing this with a colleague of mine who has some experience, or has a friend who has some experience with quirky devices and then the Nix hardware quirk stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna bring over everything I learned from working on that in Ubuntu Mate and bring that to the Nix hardware quirks, because I think that will be valuable. So we have got the Pocket, and let's just flesh these out. There we go. So we've got the Pocket, and then we'll try and remember all of the names of the things. And what will be good about this is that with Ubuntu, you only ever have one kernel to choose from. Well, that's a little bit of an oversimplification, but broadly true. You only have one kernel to choose from for each Ubuntu release. And actually, with NixOS, there are several kernel versions that you can choose from for any given release. And this will be helpful for the GPD devices, because as it stands right now, there's some development work happening in the kernel, which has actually caused a regression in the display driver that affects one of these models. So on new versions of Ubuntu, you get just a black screen at all times. So I have to run an older version of Ubuntu on that device. While using NixOS, I'll be able to run a current version of NixOS, but just with an older kernel, which has the earlier support for that display driver, which although has quirks, does function. So this will be an interesting little experiment. So we've got the Pocket 2. How many of these am I going to be able to remember? Let's see. We've got a Pocket 3 as well, I think. We've got the Micro PC. This will be a fun one because it's got serial ports. Is it called the Micro, or is it the Micro? I think it's just called the Micro. We've got the... I might have to go and look at their website. Let's see how many I can do. We've got the GPD Win. Now, which ones of these have I got? I can't remember. Let's go and have a look at GPD's website. gpd.hk, because I think I've got all but the latest model. I don't have this one, much to my chagrin, because that's probably the most interesting. So here we go. Oh, Micro PC it's called. Okay, let's go and fix that. So we've got the Micro PC. And actually my model is an engineering sample with half the RAM and a slower CPU, but I think all the other bits are enabled, so I think it's still good for reference. We've got the Win 4, which I don't have, but I do have the Win 3. Gosh, I wonder if you can see their old versions. I think they may have taken those down now. Let's have a look. Oh, I know. I've got my own repository. I can look at this. Right, here we go. One of these is here it is. There we go. I can just refer to my own stuff. So what have we got here? Here we go. The Pocket 3. Oh, this is the quirk. So the Win 2 and the Win Max. Okay, so that's the other ones, and let's get that in there. So the Win, and I think that these are gaming PCs. The Win, these have got like controllers built into them. The Win Max. Let's go and take another look. So, yeah, it is a lot of Pocket devices, yeah. Okay, what other ones have I got here? Here we go. The Pocket 2, the Pocket 3, the Micro PC. Oh, the P2 Max. That's probably my favourite of the bunch, actually. It's the least quirky as well. So the P2 Max. The Pocket 3 is the new one, which I really like too. So, the P2 Max, was it? P2 Max. And I also have a Topjoy Falcon as well. Right, so the P2 Max, which I think I just refer to as P2. These are the host names that I'm going to be attributing to these. So this is the P2 Max. And these are all actually Intel CPUs. And then I also have at the end here, we'll drop in a Topjoy Falcon, which I also quite like, although it's a bit aged now. Topjoy. Oh, I just call this Falcon. That's the host name I have, but whoops for this. Right. And the manufacturer, I think this is the only PC that they made. It's a shame, because they were onto a good thing, I think. I bet you can't get them anymore. Like I say, CPUs are quite old now. Right then, I do have... hey King Egypt, how you doing? Good to see you again. How's tricks? Right then, they keep their value well, do they? Okay, that's good to see. Right, so the GPD WinMax, the P2 Max. Yeah, I think that's everything I have. I don't have a One Mix Yoga, but I believe it's the same internals as the Topjoy on one of these. And do I have a Win 3? Not here. Maybe at home. I might have a Win 3. I might have a Win 3. I honestly can't remember. Maybe I have got a Win 3. I seem to know something about it. Okay.
Thanks for the resub, Esme Potato.
Oh, thank you, Esme. That's very kind. Anyway, I think that covers it. These I don't have any of these One Mix devices, but they are, and I don't have this Chewy either, but they have similar hardware. I was able to collect this from, you might know the YouTube channel, The Forks. I contacted him and he sent me this information so I could figure out what they were most similar to. So there we go. These One Mix devices generally are identical to the GPD Pocket 2. Right, I think that is all of those devices that I'm going to be doing. So what else have I got that I want? Oh yes, I've got another ThinkPad. I'm not sure what to call it actually, so I've only ever called it P1 in the past, but I feel it needs a better name. And it's a Lenovo. I should put Gen 1 in here as well, because I expect later this year there'll be a Gen 2 of that. I've got a ThinkPad P1 Gen 1, and this is a monstrous device. This is a 16-inch, it's a Xeon laptop. It's absolutely mental, and with the benefit of hindsight, a little bit of a mistake. I think now, what else have I got? Aha, yes. I have a MacBook Pro, and that is made by Apple. And I'm going to do something different here. This is a MacBook Pro, I think it's a 2015 something. I'll have to look out what the something is. But what I'm actually going to run on this is Mac OS. And then I'm just going to, I'm going to use two projects here. And this will be a learning experience. There's a thing called Nix Darwin, which is a way to bring a NixOS-like experience on top of macOS, and then Home Manager like I'm using on Ubuntu. So my hope is so what we're working on at work is we've created this new installer for Nix called the Determinate Nix Installer, and we've hyper focused on bringing excellent support for macOS, and what we're aiming to do there is bring you the best Linux user space experience, but through the power of Nix on macOS. So that's one of the reasons why I want to do more with this, because it's a key thing that we're pursuing for developers. Yeah, I know. So I actually got that MacBook. I bought it secondhand when I worked at Canonical, and it was really so I could see what the competition were doing, because we can consider, or we considered, Windows and Mac OS as things that we needed to compete with. So prior to buying that, my Mac OS reference material was basically Popey, who had a MacBook, and he would show me like how it works, and I thought I probably need to get my own so I can do this. So King Egypt says, did you get it so you'd be allowed into Linux conferences? Very good, very good. No, I didn't. It's never been out of the house, actually. I nearly gave it to my father-in-law recently, but I gave him my Mac Mini for his home studio because his was quite old. Nix on MacBooks. Yes, it's really very nice, Esme. So I'll be covering that. So let's just think. What have I overlooked? I must be missing something. I am. So I have got another homebrew device, which I have never installed anything on, and I don't know what to call it. So it's another DIY. It's sort of this, and we'll call it no name, because I don't have a name for it yet. But this is going to be a Killer Games machine. So this has got a 5900X in it, and so it's an AMD 5900X, so it's AM4, and it also has a 6900 XT. And I want to run NixOS on that game station. Maybe I'm going to change that name, I don't know. So that's what I want to do with that. I want to get that running effectively like Chimera OS. So a Steam Deck like experience on on that machine. So boot to a single surface kiosk mode, probably using their compositor that I forgot, Valve's compositor, which I've forgotten the name of, GameScope I think it's called. So doing all of that stuff, because we currently have another one. I should probably put it in here actually. I will just add this. I'm not sure I want to change this one yet, but we have another one which is actually it doesn't have a name, but I'm going to call it Node 202, because that's sort of how we reference it by name when we speak of it, and that's because it's the case that it's in. Oh boy, I'm all over the show. Let's get that tidied up. So this is DIY. This is a curiosity. It's a real interesting mix. This is a 5700G, currently with a 5700 XT in it, and this is currently Chimera OS, and that is the main games machine. That's my daughter's machine, and that one needs to be, well, it's done because it's currently running Chimera, but OS maybe at some date, if this experiment is successful, then I may move this over to it. And I'm considering building a project. We were talking about distros earlier. Building a project which is sort of a NixOS configuration out of the box that is a Steam box, basically. I think that would be kind of fun to dig into. And yeah. So Popey uses his Z13 as a desktop. Yes, I know you've invested in some docks and things to make that all. Yeah. So I have my Z13. I carry that around with me. And in fact, something that I've got. Oh, hey Popey, you'll like this. I've got some show and tell. Is it in here? I think it is. No, it's not. It's at home. I have one up here. Oh, actually, I have the technology to do this. Let's do this. He says he has the technology, but he can't remember how to. Oh, there it is. Right, if I point that up there. Oh, allow. Okay, right then. Let's try this. Oh, I haven't got the right source loaded. Oh no, there it is. There we go. We're in business. Right, so you can see they've got this screen. This is a new development. I've got this screen next to the camera, and that's a little 10-inch display, and it can be powered and displayed off of the USB-C port. But I've got it via HDMI for reasons. And this is 1920 by 1200, the same as the internal display of the Z13 Popey. So I have another one of these. This is very thin, as you can see, and I have another one of these. And what my plan is when I go traveling, I can take it with me and use it as a second screen, which is the same native resolution as the Z13, to do dual display. So yeah, I think these are terrific. They're, yeah, yours is Velcro to the wall. Mine's on. There you go. I've got mounting points. You can see just simple clamps, camera clamps, holding that in place because it's very light. And that's the thing that's holding the monitor is a tablet stand, a tablet clamp for putting tablets in, camera mounts and things like that. Anyway, so that's a new addition, and in fact, adding that was one of the reasons why I didn't stream for such a long time, because I found a bug in OBS Studio, which is when you have exotic desktop arrangements. OBS Studio segfaults when you start it up when you've got displays in unusual orientations, and I still need to file that bug with the appropriate backtraces and what have you. So how are we doing on my big old list of stuff? Right then, yeah, it's a really nice little display, and it was I got them on discount, so I think it was 90 quid when I got it, so it didn't feel too expensive, because some of the other ones, I've got a 15-inch one at home, and that was a bit more money, and it's also touch as well, so when you've got it plugged in properly via USB, it's touch enabled. Okay, I'm going to turn that off. There we go. Right, okay. Right, so I think, is this the big list of everything? I mean, technically I have, oh no, it's not. There are two important computers that need to go on here. So I also have one which is called XPS, and that is obviously made by Dell, and it is a XPS 13, and I forget exactly which era it is, but it's the 2016 era, so I'll have to look up the model number. And I want to move that to nixos, and it's a laptop, and it's my wife's laptop, and it's currently running Ubuntu Mate. So that is a longer term project. And then we have this other one, what do we even call it? I can't remember what the host name of this one is, but this is my daughter's laptop, and I can't remember what the host name is. I can't even remember what the model of the thing is, but it's an HP something. An HP something very thin and gold and copper in color. So I'm going to have to look up the actual model, because this is from 2017, and it's a real thin and light. It's very pretty, but I'm going to have to look up that. But I want to move that over as well. And one of the reasons why I want to do that is I want to work on bringing over the parental controls feature from Pantheon Desktop to nixos, so I can put that on my daughter's machine, so that she doesn't watch YouTube videos until 2 o'clock in the morning, which is something I found out is a thing recently. So there we go. That's sort of the reason for bringing that one over is it's not an envy. It's. I tell you what. I'm gonna have to find it now. My brain's. Let's think. It's HP thin laptop. Let's see what that. Not a ZBook. No, it's not an Envy. It's like I say, it's from a while ago. Let's do copper. Here we go. Yeah, it's a Spectre. It's not the 360. That's the host name though. It is a Spectre. So it's an HP Spectre, and I think it might be like the first generation. It's this one. No, it's not. And it's not an X360 though, because that does the full 10th thing, and the one we've got doesn't. It's an earlier version, but it is an HP Spectre, so that's helpful. Thank you, Popey. So its host name is Spectre, and I'll have to look up the exact model, but it's doing quite well because it's only got 8 gigs of RAM, but it's getting her through her secondary school just fine. Right then, have I captured all of the things now? I'm just trying to think. So we've got that one on the desk behind me. Oh, no, there's another one. There is another one. And this is going to go up here with Skull. So Skull's going to be interesting, because that's going to be a server, and I'm going to set it up as a NAS, which I've not done for a while. But I've got some weird plans for this. I've got a Thunderbolt external enclosure, which takes 3 PCI single lane cards, and it's really designed for audio interfaces. So if you're connecting it to a MacBook for audio production, audio workstation, you can fill this thing with audio cards and do loads of stuff in Logic. But what I'm planning on doing is filling that with these cheap 4 SSD adapters. So effectively getting 12 SSDs inside this thing, and making a NAS entirely composed of solid state storage. So that's just me creating idiosyncratic requirements. But this, so Spectre up here is the one I can change. But then I've got this other thing which has the host name Bricks, and it is a gigabyte something, quite old. I think from around 2012. And it is a Bricks of some sort. I don't remember the part number. I'm going to have to look it up. But I want to move that over as a server. And what I want to do is drop this into... sit it on top of the router where the fiber comes into the house. And I want to just use that as a... 0 tier and tail scale endpoint for getting entry into the house, and also run DNS mask on it for DNS in the house, as opposed to a Raspberry Pi that I have been using. So that is another device. So I think we've got quite a lot now. Oh no, there's another one, and this one I don't even know where to get started. So I think I'm correct in saying it's a C630. Mate, we can go and look it up in a second. But this is also made by Lenovo, and I think it's a C630. Let's just go and look it up. I've had a go with Ubuntu on this. So Lenovo C630, and it's an ARM CPU. I think it's a Yoga C630. Here we go. This is what it is, a Lenovo C630 with a Snapdragon 850 CPU in it. And you can go and read about like how this progress. Hardware support has been going, and it's been worked on for a long time, and it's still not really there. So I'm going to have a look at this, because in Ubuntu it requires an ungodly number of patches in order to get it up and running. But one of the curious properties I've learned about NixOS is that actually wrangling like significant kernel patches and configuration changes is quite trivial. And I thought that was going to be a real on-rails experience due to the immutable nature of Nix. But actually, working with significant kernel patches is really easy because it's just a derivation, and I'll get into derivations on another day. So I'm going to have a go at getting this thing working. Oh, it's not a Yago, it's a Yoga. And see if it's possible to bring this thing up using NixOS. And this is going to be well outside my comfort zone, because as I understand it, the main thing that doesn't work well is the hardware acceleration on the GPU. And I don't even have enough experience to be dangerous with that kind of stuff. So this is going to be in the same class of interesting as like these Pinebooks. And yeah. And then I may buy a couple of laptops in the not too distant future for hack value, and that's the upcoming framework with the AMD 740 CPU in it. I'm very interested in that, and also the new ARM-based Lenovo, which is that called an X something or other. Lenovo ARM laptop. And it comes with Ubuntu, so let's yeah, this one, the X13S. This is the one that I'm interested in. I saw when I was at the where did we go? When I was at the Ubuntu Summit in October, was it November last year, Robbie Williamson, who used to work at Canonical and now works at ARM, gave this whole presentation about why developers need to think about building their software for ARM, you know, using GitHub workflows and GitLab workflows to make sure your binaries are published for ARM. And then also teased that this was being worked on, and in the audience was one of the Canonical engineers who had a prototype one of these, who sent around a bunch of screenshots that he was actually working on it in the auditorium. So I'm very interested in this. So we shall see how that progresses. Hey Quantum Garage, how you doing? Those new frameworks look nice, especially the 16-inch one. Have you seen the MNT Pocket Reform? I haven't. No, what's that? Sounds interesting. So so yeah, I'm looking forward to what is an emerging ARM future. As always, Apple, you know, do something and the rest of the industry follows suit. No bad thing in this respect, I don't think, because I think ARM laptops are you know, a good combination. So I wonder if any of this stuff that I've just picked out, let's see, what's the GPD support look like? The micros here, oh wow, this is new, look at this, we've got somebody working on this. The P2 Max, the Pocket 3, 2 years ago the micro PC, that's, yeah, okay, I think I got mine like 3 years ago. The Win 2 2 months ago. Let's go and see, this one's one of my favourites, so let's go and have a look. K900. Oh, look, nice. You can even reference particular CPU generations. That's rather cool, isn't it? So you can see how this was composed. There's no sort of bespoke configuration. It's just pulling together all of the right, so it's a composite of all of the right bits. Let's just take a quick look at the Pocket 3, which was their most recent one. Yeah, I expected this was going to have a bunch of dirty hacks in it. So here we go. This is the sort, oh gosh, we still have to do this. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I'm familiar with this. So this is also what I'm familiar with. So this is interesting because this shows me, oh, and look at this. This is terrific. They've even gone to the extent of getting the font config configuration because it's actually a portrait orientated display. Okay, so this is very well done. Yes, and this I'm familiar with as well. Oh, they've even calculated DPI. Good, go. All that. Somebody's done excellent work here. Nice. So well, let's have a look at the other one out. Why does that keep popping up? That's new. Let's look at the micro PC because this one's a bit quirky as well. Interesting. This one. Or maybe this one doesn't have screen rotation. I'll have to go and check my own notes. And the Win 2, this has got joypads and stuff. So here we go. This is the same thing we're seeing here and bootloader stuff. And then this has got some specific TLP tweaks as well. Pinned to versions of NixOS, which is also very helpful. So we'll be taking a look at all of this. We'll be building things like this for each of these. Well, not for each of the devices. What will we be doing in actual fact? Anything that's a named brand actual off-the-shelf device will put together a configuration entry for that database. But for things like these DIY boxes, then these will be their own local composites using that hardware database. And I think, oh no, there's a couple of others. There's one that I'm not going to touch. I've got a T43, but I've got plans for that. I'm going to be putting OS2 back on that. And I've got an original. Oh, what is it? Well, the OEM is Entroware. And I can't remember what model I have because my family have got loads of Entroware devices. Hope he's got one of them as well, actually thinking about it. But I've got one and I can't remember which one I have. It's not the one that I named. I think Popey's got that one. So I'll have to look up the model. But this was the one that I worked on the only time I've contributed to the Linux kernel directly, and I got my name in the Linux kernel source for this. So I can't remember what it's called. But it is a laptop of some description. I think it's an Athena. It might be an Athena. It might be. No. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, I will be doing that one as well. So King Egypt says, so are these configs that you pull in during the NixOS installation, or do you copy it afterwards? These are going to be baked into the NixOS configuration for these machines. So let's just illustrate how this works. So if I open up my Nix Flake, my top level Flake, we'll just skip over everything that isn't relevant to answering your specific question, King Egypt. So don't worry about all of this other stuff for the moment. But here we go. I have this here, which is my home configuration block for the machine designaire. So I have this config in Git. I clone this configuration to the machine called designaire, and I run the Nix build process. It can do two things. One is it works out what user I'm logged in as here and what host I'm logged into, and then I feed it a bunch of parameters: the desktop that I'm using, the host name of the device, the username of the user, and then the entry point is to the module home, and that reconfigures my home environment. So everything to do with my home environment. I think on the next stream I'll go through this in more detail to explain that. So that configures my dot files. Oversimplistic, but that's what that bit does. And then further down here I have another entry which is the NixOS configuration, and you'll see there's one here, designaire, which is for the same machine. And when I'm on Designare and I say rebuild the NICs configuration, it will basically install and configure NixOS on. It won't install. It will configure all of the install all of the packages that I've defined that machine should have, and configure them per that machine's requirements. So how this works in practice is I have a directory called NixOS, and then I have a top level here for Designare, and there you'll see 3 files: boot, disks, and hardware. And each of the hosts has those configuration files which are bespoke to those machines. So that configures the kernel, initial RAM disk, boot configuration, bootloader. Disks is obvious, disk partitioning schemas, and hardware is stuff like CPU, GPU, power saving tweaks and stuff like that. So each of those things is bespoke, but then the actual OS configuration I've kind of got, generally speaking, a bit sort of generic, but it's steered by some parameters that we define here. What desktop to run, what the host name is, and what the user is. So I will demonstrate all of this at some point to show how this single repository is currently configuring 5 or 6 machines, which are a mixture of Ubuntu and NixOS, and how we're going to get to a place where it actually looks after all of these. And the other thing that I will demonstrate that this can do is, once you've created these configurations, everything in NixOS is a derivation, and that in itself is a concept that you need to get your head around. How do I simplify what a derivation is? A derivation is, well, it's what it says, it's what it really is. Once you have something, you can create, you can derive a subtle variation from it. So, in my operating system configurations, I have this one here called ISO. And what this one actually does is it pulls in the NixOS module that makes the installation CD media of upstream NixOS. And I take that configuration builder to build an ISO image of a desktop NixOS, and then I tack onto it my NixOS configuration. So this is where I was saying you don't need to make distros all the time, because actually if you download my NixOS configuration, you can build an ISO image that is my NixOS. And I use this as my install and recovery media. So I haven't finished this yet. Something that I want to do is, I've nearly got there, but what I want to do is build into this process scripts that are embedded in the OS, which means that I can boot any of those machines that we're building in this list here. And when I boot my ISO on any of these machines, I will just have a single command, which is install, which will be able to do a fully automated repartition the disks, lay down the file system creation, and put the OS on, my user account, my SSH keys, all of that good stuff, and my home directory configuration. And when you reboot, you're just ready to go. Everything is done, all through one command. And I'm very close. I've got it down to a couple of commands, but now I need to actually integrate that into the build process. But I could, at some point have a GitHub action where if I tag a release of this configuration, it will build the ISO and stick it in the releases of my GitHub repository, and there's my recovery media that anyone could download and use as installation media. So these are things we will get to over the course of probably the rest of the year, to sort of do all of that stuff. Hopefully that made a bit of sense. King Egypt, did that answer your question? I have a typo there. Is it Spectrum? No, it's meant to be Spectre. It is meant to be Spectre. Yeah, that is what it is. Hey Charafu, how you doing? So, quoting Matthew, Nix is a bit like punk rock because you get the Unix granddads are not gonna like they won't understand it and they all hate it. That's, yeah, I don't know. I mean, technically I'm a Unix granddad because I've used Unix and Linux since I was a student, which was a long time ago now. But I suppose it's like how entrenched in like your ways are you. There are just, as you can see, I've got a lot of computers that I tinker with and play with, and that's the thing. And particularly when I've got a workstation here and a workstation at home and a laptop, keeping some consistency between those devices is a challenge. So I like Nix and NixOS because I can just unpick all of that complexity and have a consistent experience everywhere. And it also enables me to move very quickly and make changes in what would be destructive changes in any other sort of classic Linux, and have guarantees that I can roll back. So I'll introduce what NixOS generations are and why you can flip from, say, KDE to GNOME Desktop by changing a single line in your NixOS configuration, and you can flip between the two in the bootloader and preserve everything, and it's just amazing stuff. Like when you go to an event, I used to be fearful of updates happening that might break something, and it did happen to me last September. I was in the hotel room the night before I was due to give a keynote talk, and updates happened on my laptop, and I could see that they were unattended updates happened in the background, and it was a kernel update. This was running Ubuntu, I'm going to say 2204 on a Dell XPS 15, which was a device that was supported, came pre-installed. And when it rebooted, it fell over immediately with an out of memory error, and I was able on my phone to see that this was in fact a well-known bug in Ubuntu affecting this model of laptop, and to this day it is unfixed. It is an OEM priority bug that hasn't been resolved yet, and I had to sit in the hotel room. Fortunately, I keep on my keyring a USB recovery media, and I was able to boot off the USB drive and do that whole mount proc dev and sys, and manually roll back the kernel and the bootloader to the previous versions and all of that. And after an hour or so, I was up and running again. But with NixOS, you never have that kind of panic, because if you get an unbootable environment, you can just roll back through picking the last configuration out of the bootloader, which I like a lot. So having experienced those heart-in-mouth moments, I like the robustness of NixOS and the guarantees that it provides. So, hey Graham, how you doing? Welcome back. Hey King Egypt, I'm glad you found that helpful. So NixOS on servers is a thing. There's a lot of people. It's growing in popularity there. That's what we work on for the day job, and I'll be introducing some of that in the future for sure, because I think there's a lot of potential there. We're planning some cool stuff, and hopefully I'll get to share that with you here. Hey Rob Pix, how you doing? How many people are you involved with? Are you talking about work or me sat here, Rob? In terms of work, I work at a startup. It's called Determinate Systems. In fact, let's show you where I work or who I work with. There we go. So I work here. We're just about to land the rebranding of this website. So we make Nix easy. We're going to expand that definition soon. And in terms of who the company is made up, Determinate Systems, I think that's going to get me to the right place. Here's our GitHub repository. And here are some of us. So I work alongside Graham Christensen, and he's a long-time contributor to the Nix and NixOS community. And not showing up in this list, curiously, but Anna and Linus and Cole are all long-time significant contributors to Nix and NixOS. And the other co-founder of the company is Elko, who is the creator of Nix. So that's us. There's 7 of us, but it's a pretty potent group of people. They're fabulous to work with, and we're doing some good stuff. Most recently, we've been working on this, which is the Determinate Nix installer. So if you want to get Nix on any Linux or Mac OS, this is in our opinion, the best way to get that. And we've been sharing this work with the upstream Nix community, and we're making it possible that should people want to adopt this as the way to install Nix at some future date, then that's available. But as you can see, you can do some interesting things because this works inside Podman and Docker containers, and also WSL, and most interestingly of all, because Anna is a keen gamer, she's also got it working on the Steam Deck. So yeah, Nix on the Steam Deck is a thing now. And this is how I get Nix on my Ubuntu and Elementary workstations, so that as I'm transitioning from Ubuntu to NixOS, I at least have all the good stuff that Nix provides me in terms of dev environments and what have you. So that's who we are. And you'll hear more from us soon. We've got some stuff in the works at the moment. Right, okay. Any other questions anyone's got? I mean, I whizzed through a list of machines there. I think I've captured them all now. I think that's everything. I mean, it's a lot. So that's going to keep us busy. I'll do one of these on a stream every so often, and we'll slowly work down this list until they all say done, and all of these hardware quirks, where applicable, get up into the NixOS hardware quirks repository. Hey RJ, how you doing? Welcome back. Good to see you again. Graham says, I've realised I've got this, haven't I? I forgot about that. It's been, so I tell you what, a couple of months stream break, and your brain goes off. So I've been meaning to try it in KVM. You can do that for sure. I don't suppose there's a blog post documenting how to do that, is there? What is it you want to do? Run NixOS in, say, QEMU, for example. Let me know what it is you're wanting to achieve. Yeah, okay, so, Graham, good news. Oh, wrong button, there we go. You may be familiar with a project that we've worked on here. I need that one. So let's go to the right machine. There we go. QuickEmu is a project of mine that's available for most distros, and QuickEmu can quickly stand up NixOS VMs. So you can do quick get NixOS 22.11 and you'll have a fully accelerated NixOS that you can then play around with in QEMU. So that is, in my opinion, an easy way to get going. And at work, we're going to try and find some ways to, because as you point out, there are a lot of people that are sitting around seeing a lot of the energy around Nix and NixOS at the moment and wanting to have a taste. And one of the things we're going to be working on at work, making available through open source and what have you, is a way to ease that route for people that want to come and have a play. And we've got some ideas about how to do that, and QuickMU has helped inform some of those ideas. So yeah, that's something we'll be taking a look at. So Takov says, have you seen my RPi POC repo? So I think maybe you weren't here earlier. I am aware that you've done a bunch of work. I've literally cast an eye over it. I haven't given it my full attention, but I will do, because in that list of projects was Raspberry Pi stuff, and I'm intending to lean on the good work you've done in order to bring up a Raspberry Pi image through my NixOS configuration for a Raspberry Pi workstation. So I will be circling back to that and giving it some proper attention and reaching out to you on all of that. Hey Tommy, how you doing? I wondered when you might turn up. So you should get a WSL image in what, for NixOS? Yes, we can do that now. That wasn't possible until recently because of no systemd support for WSL, but now that's changed. That is entirely possible. Yeah, so I realise it was a heavy lift, Takov. I'm looking forward to looking at it properly. So there's a bunch of questions here. So Tommy, so Quantum Garage says, do you think NixOS would work well in a school education network environment? I don't see why not. I can see a lot of advantages to that, given that it's an immutable, Linux, and there are recovery points. It creates generations in the bootloader, so you've got, guaranteed resiliency there, which is what I was talking about from my own experiences of laptops at conferences and things. So it could work well in all of those ways. So yes, I think it has a lot of the properties that an environment that wants to sort of control devices and lock them down to some extent, definitely lend itself well to that. And the reproducible nature of things and the device specific configuration, which is very easy to manage. Yeah, I could see it being very well suited for that kind of environment. I intend to move my daughter's laptop over to NixOS. I don't see any reason why that would be an issue at all. The only reason why this workstation is not running NixOS and why my machine at home is still not NixOS, my main two workstations, is because of ABS. And one of the things I'll be doing here on this stream is bringing the 50 or so plugins that I need to do this to NixOS, so that I can then transition those machines to NixOS. So long as either you don't stream or your requirements for OBS Studio plugins are modest, there would be no reason that it would stop me. But I've got probably 24 plugins that I absolutely require, and I've done a little bit of due diligence on the work required to bring those to Nix packages, and that is work I'm going to do on stream here. So I'm going to go through that, because that will be my way of exploring how to do packaging and contribution to Nix packages and stuff like that. So hopefully we can all learn together on that one as well. So Charafu, is there and there is NixOps? Yes, there is. There's NixOps, and something that one of my colleagues wrote about recently, which is another cool feature of Nix, and something that, hang on a minute, what have I done here? Oh, I'm in the wrong screen. Silly boy. So if we go back to determinate systems, one of my colleagues, Luke, wrote a blog post last week. Here we go. Moving stuff around. So this is a really good blog post on using, I think, Nix copy. So you can build like a NixOS full configuration and push it to a remote machine. And this talks through that process, and it's something that I'm going to touch on because when I get to implementing the builds for all of these machines, one of the things I want to have a go at is building the operating system image on, say, this machine here, and then pushing that to the remote machine. So because that's a thing you can do. You know, you could boot. So one of the things I want to do is boot the target machine off my recovery media, which has my SSH public key integrated into it. So I can SSH in to that machine without having to do anything other than plug it in and turn it on. SSH into that machine, run the embedded thing that partitions the disks fresh for that intended target machine, and then on this machine, build the operating system image and push it to the target machine. So that's the sort of thing that I want to get to. So I'll be digging into that in time. We'll go through it. It's not all going to happen in the next few days or anything. This is a process of discovery and learning that I will probably be on for most of this year now. And this stream, other than the holidays that are coming up, obviously it's Easter in this country. We've got a bunch of public holidays, so I've started streaming just at the point I am going to be taking 5 days break. Although, what is it today? Is it Wednesday today? So I'm going to stream obviously today, and I intend to stream Thursday, and then I'll be back streaming on Wednesday next week. So a couple of quick streams, but I'll be streaming regularly from next Wednesday onwards. And we'll be covering a whole bunch of this stuff. So it's good to see you here, Tommy. I finally got there. I've been talking about this for a long time, mostly to you. You've been inquiring, but yeah, the journey is well underway now. So yeah, bring your A game, Tommy. How are you, by the way? It's been a while. Yeah, okay. So RJ says, literally just trying Nix after hearing someone talk about it on another stream. Oh, who was that? Was that you, Tommy? Were you streaming? If there's anyone else here who's streaming about NixOS that I don't know, please let me know who it was, because I would like to follow their channel. I wasn't streaming, but we were. So where was that conversation happening, Tommy? It sounds like a channel I should be following myself. Right. Well, actually, so let's just go and have a look up here. Gosh, I need new prescription. So the dev dad, I think. Let me just go and look that one up. I'm gonna just do that up here because I am not following them, or am I? Let's have a look. I am now. Right then. There we go. They're still streaming. So I think that is ideal, in fact. I was just thinking it's probably time to wrap this stream up because I need a cup of tea, and I've achieved what I set out to do, which was endure a power cup. For those of you that missed that, that was fun. We'll go and give them a raid. So let's set that up. Set that in motion. Too many screens. Okay. Is that doing the right thing? Yeah, it is. Right then. thank you all for coming, everyone. I'm going to try and stream again tomorrow. And I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. Probably something Nix related. Oh, Mindy, I'm just about to go. Thank you for stopping by, but I'll be back tomorrow at a similar time. Bye for now. Let's go raiding. I push that button, I think, don't I? Yeah.